All right, we are on camera. Hello, Betsy.
So,
Are we, can you hear us? Can you hear us?
Yes.
There you are. Good to see you.
Nice to see you. How are you?
Pretty good. How are you?
Good, gratefully.
Good.
Yeah.
Who else do we have today? Looks like we have the city of Cannon Beach. That would be us, I suppose.
That's you. Well, Betty's a little out of town, and I'll just launch right into her little thing, which is just, she says, I just want to keep harping about the garbage can at the end of Washington Street until someone says to me, please stop talking about that, or that it's on the list of places that will get a garbage can. So,
Just have a,
We're looking at the whole litter issue and where we should be putting cans, how often our pickups are, those kind of things. So we're addressing all that.
is there a timeline on that at all? Do you know, Bruce?
No, I can't tell you if there'll be a specific date that something will happen. Because we're,
Okay.
we've got, it's a lower season now, but we want to make sure that we're ready for high season. So that's really
Well-
where most of our planning is.
Yeah, and I don't know how much time you spend walking around the presidential streets, but there's a tremendous amount of foot traffic there. And I
Yep.
know that really nice bench at the end of is it Madison, where the garbage can is along there? You know, there's a garbage receptacle it's not a trail, it's whatever the name of that street is, Ocean, I guess. There's one at the south end right there where it butts up against the motel. And then there's one kind of in the middle. So having one at Washington Street would be great. And then there's another one that's on First Street as people come up from the theater, but tremendous numbers of people walk through that neighborhood and
Yeah.
also park there. And there's almost always garbage that's been left. There's a couple of people crowd into a couple little parking spaces there. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. You get the drift.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Sure. No, thank you.
okay, so and we have Deb and Bob. Tia, I don't know why I fogged out on that. And so we have them in the audience, and we have Betsy, and we have a phone number, but I don't know who that is. So do you, Deb or Bob, have anything that you'd like to talk about?
I do.
Okay.
Yep, go ahead.
No, you go first.
Well, speaking of the trash can issue, I think you bring up a really good point. How many beach access points do we have in the city?
About 45.
45.
45? And there's garbage cans and how many? Half?
I don't know how many there are.
And the reason we don't have a trash can at each entry point is because of cost. It's pretty expensive, right?
Well, imagine cost plus the cost of picking up
Sure.
litter every time.
Right.
Might be my
Okay.
guess, but I don't know if that's the case. And I know that, yeah,
I was just going to say, I feel like I walk the beach in Tolovana a lot, both north and south. And I feel like there's, really an adequate number of cans along there. Where if I'm walking, like I'm at, if I'm at Haystack Rock and I'm picking up garbage, I don't have to walk south very far to be able to run up a flight of stairs and find a garbage can. Sometimes I think it'd be nice to have one at the very, very south end, but I don't know how many people really use that set of stairs.
There's no parking there, so it's tough. I think it's limited. I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah, the one that's closest to Silver Point.
Yeah, exactly. It's on Mayor or Logan or, yeah, I know exactly.
Yeah, right. Because I pick up, I sometimes I'll park there and walk south around Silver Point, and I know it's not city garbage, but I pick it up, and then I have to either, if I've parked there by Pat Friedland's old house, or then anyway, it's not like I leave the garbage on the beach. It's just, it would be nice to have one there, but I don't really see where it would go there, actually. It's kind of crowded and there's a ravine. That's
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Anyway, I think it's fine down there. Yeah, I think the city does a great job, and I just again have to thank you so much for those wonderful dog waste bags and their availability. It's just really nice service that the city is providing, and as a dog owner, I find it really useful. I wish more people would actually bring the bags and put them in the garbage cans, but oh well, you know, most people do.
Yeah.
What's her name again?
Her name is Betsy?
Betsy.
Yeah,
Last name.
Ayers.
Okay, yeah.
If we're encouraging people to bring trash off the beach, they need someplace to put it. So is there a plan to add, just slowly add more garbage cans, or is that on the agenda or not? Do you know, Bruce?
We will be adding cans.
Okay.
I don't know if this, to my knowledge, this issue is not raised until like this year.
Sure, and it's been a bad year.
Yeah, and I think that part of it is all the takeout.
Yep.
And so we're responding to that.
Okay.
Well, and who knows what the future holds? I mean, you know, there are an awful lot of people here even now, you know, and what we used to consider kind of the off season.
Yeah.
And I, you know, it's like, yes, people aren't traveling because of the pandemic, but I also think probably a lot of people, I mean, Oregon's getting more crowded all the time with population. And I think people are like, wow, why would we spend that money to go to Colorado when we can just come to this beautiful Oregon beach? I mean, I think even when we get our, I mean, I don't know, I don't have a crystal ball, but my guess is going to be, this is going to be closer to the new normal.
Mhm.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree.
Absolutely. If you read reports all over the tourist towns, all over the country, they're seeing the same thing. People aren't going home. They're staying busy into the fall season. They don't normally stay busy.
Oh,
So
interesting. Huh.
this is a new reality. It's great for the business owners, but it's probably not going to go back to normal. There was an article in the Wall Street Journal yesterday about we're not going to go back to any semblance of normalcy until at least 2022 and probably 2024. With or without a vaccine, we're not going to reach herd immunity until 2022 with COVID. Herd immunity is at least 40%. So we're going to be living with this for a while. And we're probably going to be dealing with a lot of people coming here for a while. It's not going to change.
Plus the people moving here from, you know, like California and so forth. So I think, I mean, this is such a beautiful place. And people are discovering it.
A lot of people in California are starting to think this isn't such a good place to live anymore in California. The drought, the heat, the smoke, threat of wildfire, they're looking for other places to move to.
Yeah. Oh, did you have something?
Well, just getting back to the garbage issue, I was wondering if there was a way like recycling with cans, if there was a charge for takeout, that maybe they would bring it back and get their money back. I don't know that. It's probably a big deal, but it might encourage people to bring things back.
That's an interesting idea. I just think that right now that the restaurants are probably struggling to imagine surviving, and to add another layer of record keeping or even staff time onto having to do something like that right now might not be the best idea, but in the future, I sure would like to see there be a way to, you know, it's kind of like sending packaging back to manufacturers, you know, it's like, and it's kind of like Lolly and her cigarette. It's kind of like, you know what, this is your garbage. You created it. It's your problem.
There's styrofoam.
God bless Holly.
I know, she's wonderful.
She's been having trouble with the the butt boxes being vandalized.
Really?
Yeah,
Really?
she's had some major problems with that. So
Wow.
people try to pry them open for some reason and dump the cigarette butts. I don't know why.
Great.
Why would somebody even go bother to do that? But
Wow.
she's been having problems with that.
Well, a lot of the boxes have been taken off. I think the city took them. Is that right, Bruce?
Yes, because the agreement was that Lolly would take care of the boxes whenever anything happened to them. And so the ones that were damaged, we did take off and we've held them. We've had a conversation with her. She knows where they are. But that was the agreement that we had. So we didn't leave the ones that are damaged there.
Wow, how many are damaged? That's terrible.
Quite a few. I think I think she's got them fixed again, and she's having volunteers, asking volunteers to help put them back on the receptacles. But yeah, it's kind of a problem. It's too bad. I don't know why people do that. That's just crazy.
Well, and they cost $40 for each person who helped purchase them in the first place,
Yeah.
so.
That's what they cost, $40.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, what else do we want to talk about today?
What's more important and exciting than garbage?
You know, I think all the time how lucky we are to live in a town where our biggest problems are littering and illegal fireworks and feral rabbits and elk and grading sand dunes. I mean, thank God we live in a place like that. People vandalizing butt boxes. I mean, you know, we could be dealing with a lot of worse problems. So we feel pretty lucky to be here.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah. Gosh, I don't know. I think the elk are going to become an interesting problem. Speaking of the elk, I was on the, you know, there've been some beautiful low tides, and I was walking with some friends over to Ecola on the beach because the sand's really built up at Chapman Point right now. It's so beautiful over there. And when we came back, all the elk had sort of assembled at the top of whatever that is, 6th Street there, where you come up off the beach, up the sand dune. And so we're like, oh, great. You know, I've got my dog, you know, Pat's got her dog. The elk do not like dogs for good reason because they have been harassed by them. And there are, you know, calves and cows that, you know, the calves are still nursing. So the cows are pretty protective. Anyway, that was a nice day. There were a lot of people trying to get off the beach. A lot of people had dogs. We ended up, you know, sort of bushwhacking our way up through the dune and coming out. And there they were all over the place, you know, and so it was kind of an impasse. I mean, there was no way for me to say even just walk home from there without, I mean, it was potentially dangerous. I don't have an answer to that. The elk are very domesticated now. They certainly aren't, you know, you can't like clap your hands and make them say, go away, you know. So, anyway.
Did you see the picture of the one with its head in the ice cream store this morning?
Yes, that was great.
That was hysterical.
I think one of the people that I was walking with, the elk were just kind of grazing on the neighbors' hedges and this woman with a dog started walking up the street, and all of a sudden the elk, especially the bull, who was beautiful, on high alert, you know, and my friend kind of had to yell at this woman. It's like, get your dog back. It was like she was clueless. So I guess, I don't know.
That would be bad.
I mean, I don't know how many information signs we're going to have to put up to tell people how to act like, you know, they have, yeah, these are wild animals. Somebody is going to get hurt.
Yeah. Did you see the posting by Nancy Teagle today? They were going to do their Zumba in the bandstand, and the bandstand was surrounded by elk. So they decided they'd go to tennis courts, but before that, I guess the instructor turned on the music and the elk left, so they were able to get on the music.
The herd is getting bigger too, bigger than they were last year.
Well, it's hunting season, so they're smart to be down there.
Sure. You want to go first? Okay. So I was thinking about this for the past month and talking to a lot of people. The idea of issuing parking permits for Cannon Beach on summer weekends, and maybe 9 weekends from the 4th of July through Labor Day. It'd be 18 or 20 days out of 365 days. When I was talking to Bruce a little over a month ago, he said we can't legally stop people from driving down the streets, but we can prevent them from parking here. Did I hear you right, Bruce? Is that?
Yes, we can restrict parking in our right of way.
Parking, okay, all right. So this is not a new idea. This has been proposed before. Maybe it's a really bad idea, but is there some way to maybe limit the number of cars that come into Cannon Beach? Could you do it online? You could make them free, you could charge for them, do pay for enforcement? I don't know. I was talking to Sam at a social gathering a couple of weeks ago, and he said someone counted all the potential parking spaces just in downtown. There's 1,000 parking spaces in downtown. If you add Midtown and Tolovana, we're probably 2,500, 3,000 potential parking spaces. That's a lot of cars. Do we need any more cars than that? It's to the point now where people spend an hour driving around on summer weekends trying to find a place to park. My neighbor said he heard an ad in the middle of last summer when we were just being crushed by tourists, encouraging people to come to Cannon Beach. That's insanity. That's like, isn't there money that's earmarked for promoting tourism and it has to be spent on promoting tourism? Is that correct?
Lodging taxes require 70% of the lodging taxes we bring in to promote, it's a state law, to promote tourism.
Promote tourism, okay. Does anybody else besides me think that's insane to be promoting tourism in the summer?
Well, I think probably.
In the off season,
90%
absolutely.
of
This time of year, the
people-
winter time, the spring, absolutely, but.
Well, that's-
I think you get a lot of people agreeing with you. It's just a real balancing situation. And Jason, do you want to chime in on this in terms of how to restrict people from coming into Cannon Beach?
I don't know how you're gonna do that.
Yeah, I don't
Well,
know.
parking permit, would that work for the police? Or is it a bad
If
idea?
they're parking, but, yeah, no, I mean, are you thinking a parking permit just for locals or?
No, for visitors, It's a good point, though. There's precedent. You need a snow park permit to park in the Cascades in the wintertime. You need a Northwest Forest pass to park at trailheads all year round. You need a pass to park in the state parks. The precedent is there. We can make it free or we can charge for it, but you would probably need more people on bicycles than you have now to enforce that, wouldn't you?
Of course.
But it'd bring in a lot more revenue too.
If you charge for
Yeah,
it,
think
it
of
would
the money.
pay for the enforcement if you charge $2 or $3. I think a snow park permit used to be $5. I think it's more than that for one day. A pass to park at Ecola Park is $5 a day. Would that pay for enforcement if you charge?
I think if we raised our parking citation fines up
There we go.
of $25,
Okay.
one of the lowest.
Okay.
And I think that if they had a higher fine, that would certainly work as proactive for people that were parking here, but also add to paying for more staff.
Okay. How many people don't pay the parking fines? Pretty large percentage.
We have a collections where it goes to collections when they don't, and I don't know without talking to the court clerk.
Okay.
And Bob, the planning commission and city council and design review board are all looking at some things for protections for Cannon Beach. And there is a concept based on what you're talking about. It probably won't come up until later, but it does deal a lot with it's not so much a revenue side as it is a control on the number of people that can be here.
Right.
Can I have a question?
Go ahead.
The people who come here regularly though, they want to have a parking permit. So the people who really love Cannon Beach would get a parking permit.
They would, again, I don't have all the details yet, but they would be able to get one. Residents would be given like 2 per household.
Okay.
Because, we can't tell the difference between somebody that's a resident or a property owner.
Sure.
Because if we check their address, it might be, Seattle or something, if you check their plate, but they're
Sure.
still they still have a right to be here. So, but there's a lot of details. There's a lot of, there's issues related to how you can track it and, you know, and with the permits and things. So, but it's something that we are looking at.
Well, it's working in other places, so.
Could I ask a question, please? Well, one is there anybody else in this meeting that I can't see besides Jason and Bruce and the two people you told me who were in the audience?
Jennifer.
Other than Jennifer, who's running the computer.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I didn't know Jason was in, you know, I can't see that part of the council.
Cameras.
Yeah, that's fine. The sound is really good today, by the way. I can.
There's seven people.
The city has a new system, so we have new microphones and cameras and all kinds of things going on.
Yeah,
here.
no, it works really well. And of course, I got to put my 2 cents worth in about parking. You know, it's, yeah, what a can of worms. But again, there are the older neighborhoods in Cannon Beach where people don't have driveways and they don't have garages. And that's where the residents have to park, is on the street. The ones in the presidential streets are really close to downtown. And it's, Betty, who owns a house where people park, you know, she doesn't have a driveway. She doesn't have a garage. It's an old house, my grandmother's old house. And, you know, we talked about parking permits, residential or, you know, parking permits in the presidential streets. And she said, well, you know, I really think that with COVID and the restaurants, and this has probably been discussed at this meeting already, the restaurants needing to use their parking lots for tables so that people can eat safely, that maybe right now is not the best time to be limiting parking, just to try to keep the business community afloat.
And I appreciate Betty thinking of that. You know, if we all would do that more, it'd be a better world. Because, you know, she has her problem, but she's recognizing somebody else's problem too. And that's great.
Yeah. She's a good community member for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's where we're trying to balance. The city council's trying to balance. You know, the chamber is saying we need to bring in more people during the off season because the businesses are going to go under, which is totally understandable.
I agree with that, absolutely.
But at the same time, other people are saying no more people. So it's that really fine balance that we have to deal with, and add the COVID on top of it.
Yep.
Which is the reason that businesses might go under during this winter season. It's an interesting project to have to deal with.
Well, there must be like Aspen, Colorado, and lots of places that already.
Has someone already done this? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
And that's what we're researching.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if you need to do some research, I'll do it.
I'm thinking, you know, I got a lot more thoughts about this, but, you know, safety is one of them. Jason, you know, are the streets so packed with people on summer weekends, it would be hard to get a fire engine down some of the streets? Or
Yes.
Emergency response will be impaired. I mean, I was a firefighter for 25 years. I don't know that I want to drive a fire engine down Monroe Street on a summer weekend. I'm going to have to turn the corner on the ocean. Is public safety an issue, do you think, with how crowded it gets?
Absolutely.
Okay. And, you know, God forbid there was a subduction zone earthquake and tsunami on, you know, an August weekend. Could we get all those people to higher ground? Or is there too many people where hundreds or, God forbid, thousands of people would die because they just couldn't get out of the way fast enough? If you're that crowded, I hope that wouldn't happen, but that'd be an issue.
That could be an issue.
Okay.
But vehicles are not going to get you out of here.
No, they aren't.
Walk out.
Yeah.
Right.
Run.
Yes. And you've got, and you'll have 15 minutes.
Yeah. Several years ago, there was a computer study done by Oregon State University on how many people would survive a tsunami on a summer's day.
Oh.
And how many people would finally get up to the hill
And what did they come up with?
within 15 minutes, and how many not survive, and what are our best routes for So there's been a lot of study about that. And they did that one in Cannon Beach, and then they did one also in Seaside.
And also, we've just done something, what we found is that our signs were conflicting. Like they would tell you, if you want to leave, do this, it's like, which one do I go? And so we've done some of those changes. And then Rick, who's usually here, has been doing a great job. And so he started what he calls Walkout Wednesdays. And I think that might have been a term that they used before when we were more active in emergency management. And so we've actually, had like City Hall evacuate. We've got, we all have umbrellas that say, follow me. But we're trying to get the neighborhoods to get used to walking and give themselves an idea how long it would take to get to where they would be safe, that sort of thing. So we're actively doing those things now.
That's great. It's good. I think Cannon Beach is way ahead of most other towns, I think, on the coast, I think.
Somewhat, yeah. We used to be like the most prepared in the state, but I'm not sure where we stand now.
You look at the earthquake in 2011 in Japan, they are the most earthquake prepared nation in the world, and they had 20-some thousand deaths, I think. That's horrifying. Reason why it couldn't happen here. So a few more thoughts I had about it. If you have a parking permit, it allows you to make a connection with visitors and educate them about littering, about fireworks, any other issues that are ongoing. I've talked to a few business owners here about this idea. And one had a really interesting observation. His wife owns a business here, and he says more visitors doesn't necessarily translate into more business.
Right.
At a certain point, you're just so full, doesn't add any more to the equation.
I think a lot of businesses find that to be true in the summer. And I think this year has been one of those situations where people just want to get away from home. They come down here, they go to the beach, bring their own food, or they do takeout and leave the litter on the beach and then go home. And they don't go into the stores.
I've talked to several longtime locals who've been here for decades, and they say every year it can't get any worse, and every year it gets worse.
Yeah.
And this year especially. And COVID, there's a lot of other places you couldn't go, so they're coming to the Oregon coast. I don't blame them. I want to breathe fresh air and be on the beach too. But it's just kind of getting to the point where it's no fun for the people who live here. It's really no fun for the people who visit. It's so crowded.
Some people are coming down here and then driving all the way back home. Yeah.
Well, I've heard from a lot of people that say, we don't go to Cannon Beach anymore. So we stopped going there years ago. It's just too crowded. They go to other places. They go to Falcon Cove. They go to Arch Cave. They go to Manzanita. They go other places. There's a very interesting book called Overbooked, The Exploding Business of Travel and Tourism. I don't know how many people have read that, but there's some lessons that apply. They bring up France. The book was written, France was the #1 tourist destination in the world. It's not anymore. They've done a very good job managing tourism, and it had not negatively impacted their culture. And they brought up Bordeaux in particular, and they said Bordeaux, their philosophy is we take care of the people who live here first. That's our first priority. They bring up the example of Venice. And Venice is an example of tourism run amok. It is hollowed out the city. There's no grocery stores, there's no bakeries. It's a horrible place to live, and they're losing population. We're not another Venice, but we're heading in that direction. And it also brings up Siem Reap and Angkor Wat in Cambodia. And that is the worst example of over commercialization of anywhere in the world, the exploitation, the environmental degradation. So we're nowhere near that. Some places have become nightmares of just unrestricted tourism.
Yeah, but that's the effort that the council and the planning commission and DRB are going in with these meetings is to address the kind of things that will be coming, to address the stuff, especially with the change in the patterns with COVID, but just, and then also the inconvenience, and, I would hesitate to go so far as to say hardship, but how much local residents lose as a result of people coming here. So we're trying to, we're trying to set a meeting, I think, for the beginning of November.
Okay.
And that'll be the first joint meeting. This process will probably take about a year, but we're trying to address all those things. Another thing that we're addressing is that the easy lots to build on are gone. And so what we're seeing is that people are trying to build on lots that no one ever considered buildable.
Yep.
And the requirements that they have to do that are extreme. Another thing I saw in the city I managed before this is that when you reach that point, all of a sudden, it makes economic sense to buy, say, 2 houses downtown, which are exactly the kind of residences we want, knock them down. And then now they've got a clean lot. And they'll go ahead and they'll build something that would be totally appropriate in downtown Portland.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so those are the kind of things, it's like, we see that coming. And so everybody's agreed, yes, we need to go ahead and take a look at that. And we want to make sure that we have a very good comp plan. And we want to make sure that our ordinances support the comp plan the way we want it to. And to make sure that the ordinances, when you really look at them closely to try to interpret, are we strong enough in what we're trying to accomplish? So we're actually going through that. And from my standpoint, part of what we're looking at is based on the damage to other tourism sites that have occurred. And I think the term is loved to death.
Yep. You did a lot. Yep.
And we could get there, but we've got people that are very concerned about it. And if they've said, we'll go ahead and we'll work for a year on this to try to solve these.
Well, that's great, Bruce. That all sounds really great, Bruce. Thank you for saying that. I know years ago, there seemed to be a real sense that anything that would make money for people was definitely welcome and a green light here, not in terms of our zoning and planning so much as just about, well, I'm thinking specifically about the floor area ratio battle that happened and how many people felt that they had, I think I've mentioned this before, the pat phrase was, we bought in Cannon Beach with our investment-backed expectations.
Yeah.
Investment, in other words, this is a great place to make money because it's beautiful and we will just kind of ignore all the careful planning and restrictions and concern that have been tried to make this into a community. And this is a chance for us to really make some money here. And as property gets more expensive, I'm so glad to have heard what you said, Bruce. That is, yeah, I think the residents really have in some ways gotten kind of short shrift. There are, of course, business members who will also tell you, hey, you know what? Almost all of us live here. We live here too. You know, this is our town, and we're just trying to make a living. So it's not, you know, I have no idea. I think very few businesses are owned by some outside corporate interest. I mean, it's mostly still mom and pop stuff here, which is wonderful. And they contribute to the community and they're part of the community. So, you know, there's that balance to consider also.
Yeah. In the community I was from, they did something amazing. And I think it was in 1983. They made the decision that this city is about us. And if you want to come here and build, you'll build to our rules. And they downzoned from like 70,000 to 20,000. They, everybody wants as wide of a frontage on their condos or whatever that they're building, so everybody gets a view. They said you could only build across maybe 40% or 50% of your lot, so that between the 2 sets of condos next to each other, there's this big wide space where you can see the Gulf of Mexico. And there was a big fight against by the people that wanted to make money there. And they kind of lost on that, but it turned into the 5th wealthiest zip code in the country because people appreciate the restrictions that are there and are willing to pay to go there. But you could go someplace else, buy a piece of property and build a bigger place, but you can build a smaller place there and make just as much money. Oh, and the other thing that I love is that, like when you plant the landscaping, none of this 3-gallon stuff. When you planted trees, the trees had to look like they've been in place for like 20 years. So the day that you finally started letting people move in, it looks like it had been there all the time.
Cool.
So, I mean, they said, that's what's going to happen here. This is about us. And I thought it was brilliant.
Yeah, that's great. Speaking of trees, what's happening with the landscaping at the church? No trees have been replaced. The place, they've paved the whole thing. The main big, beautiful tree in the middle came down supposedly for safety reasons. Someone's done a lot of work. Benjamin Saucedo's been up there and done a ton of weeding and put down a bunch of mulch, and that all looks sort of nice. To me, it looks kind of like, you're somewhere in Hillsborough at a business park with, paving and stripes on them. Anyway, I thought the deal was they had to plant some trees there. And I like the idea of having to replace them with trees that aren't, 4 inches tall. But anyway, just throwing that out there. It's time to, the deal with that was that they were going to re-landscape with trees, and there are no trees that have been added there yet.
I've been asking about the trees and the lighting there, just to make sure that we're keeping track of that. And I haven't heard anything back about that.
And that's on me. Let me just step next door because Jeff is over here, and let me see if he's had a chance to check into that.
Well, thank you. Thanks, Bruce.
We don't have a dog park there, do we?
And a tree in the right of way.
Just the bees.
That's
The
why.
beach.
Yeah, but you gotta keep the dogs on leashes in the beach.
No, you don't.
No, you don't.
No, if it's a voice command, if they come to you with your voice, that you can keep them off leash.
Really?
Yeah, except around Haystack Rock.
Okay,
Right.
the rain garden, okay, that makes sense.
We have an unruly puppy. And he goes up to people and shakes and eats them all that. But he doesn't behave as well as he should. Anyway, but
I had one more quick point on the parking permits. I was thinking about the middle ground. If COVID starts taking off again, and it is,
it's up 25%.
I mean, the political bravery the council showed in March, thank you for shutting the town down. That was not an easy decision. And I felt really bad for all the business owners. You knew when you made that decision, it was going to hurt a lot of people economically. Thank you for doing that. Is there somehow a middle ground between a complete shutdown and opening up the floodgates? And if you had this parking permit system in place, if COVID spiked, could you limit the number of people coming here as a middle ground, somewhere between total shutdown and unrestricted access? That's another thought I had about the parking permit. So something to think about.
Well, I think the parking, I don't know how Robin feels about this, but I think the parking permit idea should be part of an overall parking strategy.
Mhm.
And I don't think we have gotten to that point yet. I know I'm seriously thinking about various strategies to deal with parking and limiting parking, or at least getting our value out of the parking that's done.
Okay.
But I think that's part of it, the parking permits, and I don't know if it's for visitors or for locals, but it has to be an overall strategy. It can't be just piecemeal, I don't think. I think you need to just initiate the whole thing at one time.
Gotcha. Okay.
And I think we are, I think we're considering, I think several council members are considering what they can do about parking. We did have a parking study, 2 or 3 years ago, I think. And the results were kind of interesting on that. But I think that's definitely in our minds, and we're thinking about it, but I just don't think we can just do a piecemeal kind of thing.
I understand.
We have to have a coordinated effort and a network so that Jason can enforce it, Jason and his officers can enforce it, and people feel comfortable about it. We know how, if it's a payment situation, how we're going to get the payments and so forth. So it's not just like institute a permit system and let it go with that.
Right. But they've been talking about the parking meters in Cannon Beach.
We don't have parking meters. We don't have parking
I
meters.
know they've been talking about installing them though, and I think that's expensive, and they're there 90% of the year. You don't need them. Parking permit system, you could come and go as you need it. You do it online. You could have a third of them for people this first time, first serve to show up here. Whatever system you decided.
The thing with something like a parking meter is it drives the parking someplace else, and that would be into the neighborhoods.
There we go. Okay. All right.
So what I said that, we were looking at and trying to come up with an overall plan on how to do this. It treats the parking in the neighborhoods the same as parking, like if you were downtown and there was a space or something. It's like we don't push into the neighborhood. The neighborhood should have the same kind of protection. But then you have to balance that against the foot traffic. If we throttle back too far, is that going to hurt businesses? Or do we have a way to figure out the sweet spot so that it actually makes it better? Because when we're over busy, overcrowded, the businesses don't do as well. And so all of that has to come together. But in my mind, the main thing is, and I hate to use this word, but protecting the product. For a long time, we've been selling Cannon Beach, but now we need to protect the product. And as a result of my previous training, if you want to call that, or previous experience, make it about the people that are here now. And then, everybody else, they're going to come.
Yeah,
But
They're gonna come. Yeah.
one thing that I always had trouble balancing is that beach communities, the presumption is that we have a responsibility to provide beach access to everybody that's coming into Oregon, Washington, every place else. And so what's happening is that they're building new developments, people are coming in, and we have more people that we have to take care of, we have to deal with. And to me, that's a responsibility of the state and state parks, because, that they're letting Oregon get bigger, but it shouldn't be that, so we're going to go ahead and take over your town all the time. So I think that's, part of the concept that we have to, are we willing to accept that? Because it does seem, somewhat elitist, but I don't think we have that responsibility. And so I think that, we have to make sure that people can have access, but we don't have to give unlimited access, with the understanding that it's never going to end and it's only going to get more and more. So I think that we do have to kind of put our foot down. But anyway, we'll get there.
I really appreciate hearing that. I agree with everything you're saying, and thank you for saying those things.
No, thanks. And this is all council direction on this thing.
No, it's great.
Yeah. So
Any help, with calling like Carmel or?
Researching or, yeah.
That really worked well to find.
Yeah. And
Whether people they may have thought of something brilliant that we haven't thought of.
Exactly.
yeah, and there's two things. I mean, this is going to take, I think, like probably a year and a half. And the reason is the first thing we're dealing with right now is protecting the city as far as new development. And so we're really focusing on that and making sure that the ordinances back up the comp plan. And also now might not be the time to go ahead and start restricting people coming here until we know what we're doing. So we kind of have that, but so I just think that it'll come in a time, but and again, this is based on what council wants to see. This is my thoughts on how it would progress. But some of the things that we're seeing for new development are kind of startling. And it's like, we want to make sure that, and this is something else that we saw. Somebody comes in and buys 3 or 4 lots, knocks down all the houses because the value is in the land, there's more value in the land, and then just built the McMansions that you call them. And we want to make sure that those kind of things can't happen.
It's already happening in Lake Oswego. It's a perfect example. They're knocking down these old cottages from the 20s, 30s, and 40s and building these huge mansions. Yeah.
That's probably one of the first things that we're going to take on. And the planning commission is already taking on house size. And I think, I don't know if it was floor area ratio or what, but that's coming up this Thursday. So they're already on it, council's on it, DRB and planning commission and council have agreed to work together to address these things.
Great.
That's all I have. Thank you for listening.
Do we have a public information officer that is in contact with media?
No,
You mean,
no, and that's, we all kind of fill that position. But no, at this point, we don't have a dedicated person.
Yeah, because what I'm trying to figure out is as the fireworks thing comes, as the litter comes, I mean, I really only have the relationship with KGW. I'm very loyal, so I'm with them, but they're like right with me. And
Right.
I know a lot of people, we found out when the thing with George, I mean, a lot of the family was like so against the press. But I don't have a bad feeling about the press. They have been like wonderful.
Yeah.
They have been, they're like my friends. I mean, we email back and forth all the time and, you know, they're so eager about Cannon Beach. I mean, they love Cannon Beach, Channel 8 does. I don't know about the other stations, but they will help us with whatever we need. So I see that and the big effect of anything that I've done down here, I mean, we all go into anywhere they've said they've seen me. And I mean, who cares about that? But it's like, it gets out there.
Yep.
And it's a really good educational tool. And then the social media, I'm watching all of that. I'm immersing myself in and being educated about how the effects of that and how you can communicate, because that's where it's at now. I mean, that's how the word's getting out and email and all of that. So, you know, for us to get information about how we want it here, I think it's almost like we need to utilize those resources in a positive way and be attuned to each other on how we're gonna do that. Because a lot of times I'll be flailing, they'll call me and ask me something and I don't know. And so, you know, I'll call you, of course, but as the fireworks thing comes up, I really want to use it as an educational platform.
Absolutely, and you've been great about that. But I mean, to me, I'm just waiting, I think we need to wait till we get closer to it. You know, needs to be a timing issue. The other thing is a city, because there's so many different positions on everything, and which I guess defines politics. But I would rather go through the process and see where we end up and then promote that, rather than promote we're going through this process and have everybody react to what, you know, Jen said or what Jason said. So I guess, you know, my theory, and, you know, it may be very wrong, is that stay below the radar until you know what it is you're doing.
Right.
Because the process can be very messy and ugly and can get a lot of sound bites out of it. So I've tended to, but that's my nature. So I try to stay below radar on it.
Right, and you know, the sense of urgency with, when something comes up or they have a slow day, you know, they're gonna call and say, hey, what's going on down there, you know, anything, and I'm not in the loop of something. I mean, it's, and they're looking for stories. Sometimes they're looking for stories on slow times.
Yeah, but right now, we don't want to have a story about Cannon Beach is trying to limit the number of people that can come here. So I'm just saying those are the kind of things, see where we end up. And then, you know, yeah. Yeah, especially when we're not going to do anything for a year and a half. So.
well, I think too, you have to think about the audiences that you're trying to reach in terms of a process. If we're having a process where the council and the DRB and the planning commission are all meeting together, I think local people need to know that. I mean, residents need to know that, even North Coast people need to know that. So you have your audience, and how do you promote that or tell people about that locally?
Yeah.
People in Portland don't need to know that. They don't care. You know, people in Clackamas County don't need to know that. But people here in Cannon Beach need to know about it, and people in maybe even Seaside and Gearhart and Astoria might be interested in doing something similar in their community. So that's where you have to kind of figure out the level of promotion that you're doing.
Yeah, the target market.
Yeah. It's at the end of the process, when we finally do come together with some stronger ordinances that will support our comprehensive plan. And if there's anything there that's kind of, wow, we're going to keep houses really small in Cannon Beach, then yeah, that's the story for
Yeah, a lot of
the other
address that unless I
media.
miss something.
Yeah. So you have to think about where you are in the process as to how much you want to promote it.
Well, like the litter thing just kind of took its own life. And they were really helpful with the litter thing.
Well, and
I really think they
that was a
helped a lot.
statewide problem. That wasn't just Canada.
Oh, it's all over the country, all over the world.
Yeah.
We read articles in England and, back in Wisconsin and New England, everywhere. They're experiencing litter problems.
Yeah, so but they were really, really helpful, and I think it did make a big difference. I think it helped us. And I think they will help us with the fireworks thing. So, too, that they're gonna really, so, for that planning ahead of time. I mean, it's just life comes and it all happens really fast, and I like pre-planning too. And knowing where I am, because I'll work on building or being innovative about it all year versus just doing it in a 2-week cycle. I'd rather think it out the whole year, a plan. Like with Jason, Chris Havel, he goes way back with our family too, because of George and so forth, but they wanted to meet, is it Jason, the guy that's our district for the state parks?
Justin.
Justin, yeah, Justin, I have a nephew, Jason. Anyway, Joshua. So they wanted to meet, Chris Havel wanted us to meet with him about the fireworks and thing, after it slowed down, because he didn't want to meet during the time it was busy. So I don't, Chris wanted to be a bit involved in that. And so I don't know what we're doing about that, but it's past that time now in October. So to talk about the fireworks and how to implement that.
Yeah, you're right. We need to sort that out because I think the next time we might be facing that would be New Year's.
Right, but you know how the times go now with the election, we're all gonna be sucked through who knows what.
Yeah, I know.
We don't know what's gonna happen with that. Everybody's like freaking us out that it's gonna be awful. Hopefully not here in Cannon Beach, but it's scary. Mostly up in Warrenton, I think is more of a problem. So that will be here, and who knows what we'll be taking our time at that point with holidays and Christmas and stuff. So anyway, I don't know where we are with the fireworks plan or what you're thinking, Jason.
Bruce and I are gonna be meeting with Ashley, the city attorney, to figure out the word that we want to put out to the public, but currently, I don't know, this week, we've been working on other things, but that's on our agenda to meet with her and figure out what the word is. We certainly don't want to get out too early where it's forgotten and they're bombarded with it, but we certainly have a plan to put something together and get it out before New Year's.
My sense about Chris was that they wanted to help.
Yeah, you know what? We will definitely work with you because Deb, you've been so helpful with that and your contacts.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a matter of us getting together and figuring
Well,
out
I'll
what we're
stay
going
for
to do.
your lead, okay?
Okay.
And I think we should, we need one of those, what are those things called? Sam said we might need another one. I'll go try to get one if you,
Hey, Jen,
It's the four-wheeler, yeah.
Betsy's trying to get your attention and unmute.
be on the beach to.
She's not muted.
Do we need
Okay.
another one of those?
No, but she never stopped.
Okay.
Betsy,
Sorry.
did you want to say something?
Oh, I just wanted to know, Bruce, did Jeff have anything to say about the trees before 11 o'clock rolls around here?
He is following up with them on the trees. The lights have been installed. So the trees would be the next part.
Okay, thank you.
We are following up.
Okay, great, thanks.
And I agree that I think there should be some kind of coordination because actually Cannon Beach could take advantage of the fact that we aren't going to be having fireworks here to promote people with animals that might
Yes,
want to
exactly.
come and be here for a quiet holiday.
Some people want that.
And that would need a little time ahead to get in place for the business people.
And I see mission, visionary leadership to promote what do we want Cannon Beach to look like. I'd like to see it be a spa place. You know, everybody comes down here for peace, quiet, pets, no fireworks, and for soul rejuvenation. You know, I mean, we could create, and then all the stores sell stuff that, like, you know, I sell to all these stores here. I don't know if you guys know that, but I've sold the Golden Whale since 1990. I've sold to Good Life. They're one of our biggest, you know, they've been a big customer for years. I sell to Josephine's, to Sharon Amber, who's going out of business. I sold to Maggie's and Henry. So I know what they're buying and how it works and so forth in businesses, and I'm a business marketing person. So, you know, to come up with a whole strategy business-wise and what we want the culture of Cannon Beach to be, we can really create whatever we want. And I just would love to see what the vision, we can create, be excited about vision, a visionary, inspirational creation of what we want here. And I think it's possible. And then you filter it all into the businesses to help support their businesses build like innovative stuff. So that's really exciting. I think it's really exciting. So
It's like something you want to talk to Jim Pano about at the chamber.
yeah, I've called him twice and he never calls back.
I think you need to talk to him
I'll have
about
to go
that.
drag him out.
That sounds more like a Chamber of Commerce project than the city. I mean,
Okay.
we're all together, but in terms of that promotion aspect of it, I think that's more of a chamber promotion.
Definitely.
But the overall vision with the building of the homes and how Cannon Beach was and how it was given birth to, you know, we had a long conversation with Sam and it was really enlightening, hearing some of his stuff. So we're just learning everything and feeling our way around it. We're certainly there as a resource, because, I mean, I've been going 1,000 miles an hour with a business and now I'm retiring. So it's like, here's a resource of energy for you to help you, assist you. And I'm here. So a gator, the gators, you know what those are? A gator?
The what?
A gator?
The John Deere, the Gators, the four-wheelers. Yeah.
Oh,
No,
yeah,
I
yeah.
know what it
Do
is.
we have any of those?
We do. We have a side-by-side and 2 4-wheelers.
Is that enough?
Well, there's always room for more.
That sounds like we might need another one. So, I mean, I can go try to talk a deal in because John Deere's next to the property my family owns. So maybe I could talk them into something if we want to go that direction, but you'd have to tell me.
They're not cheap. Do you think you're able to enforce the fireworks ban? Do you have those people? Do you think that's realistic? I've heard a lot of longtime locals kind of saying, oh, there's no way, they've tried before, they can't do it. I
Well,
hope
it will be interesting. I would caution about setting up, inviting people down with their pets the first year or so, just until we get a grip on
Yeah,
what it's gonna be, but, you know, without knowing.
unless you're sure you can deliver on the promise.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is we have 8 officers and being everywhere at once is gonna be nearly impossible, but I have been communicating with Justin State Parks and he did tell me last week that they would get us 2 of their state parks employees to help out, at least with the beach. And we have plenty of people that want to volunteer and
Yeah,
call us out, but it's a thing of us being able to break away and respond down to what they're reporting.
Sure.
I think the thing that's really going to make a difference and set us apart is the fines.
the fines.
The fines is like, okay, I'm going to go to the beach and I'm going to set off fireworks, but my risk in getting caught and having to pay a big fine is higher in Cannon Beach than any place else, or maybe I'll go someplace else.
Hopefully.
And then after that is how well we actually do the enforcement and that we're able to respond. But getting the word out that we got a big fine will make a difference.
The other thing too is the connection I have is I'm not in the music, so I have all of the best musicians on my Facebook site in all of the state of Oregon.
Mhm.
And so it wouldn't be fun to have some sort of music festival, but God, the weather is the problem. Anyway,
Yours for July.
well, I could do it the 4th of July, along with the dog thing.
Well, we actually do fund a concert series through the Tolavana Arts Colony. The city sponsored, I think 4 or 5 6 concerts maybe over the summer with local musicians. And we were really happy to see that the Coaster Theater came out and did 4 nights of No Fear Shakespeare. Is that what it was, Nancy?
It was, we did a karaoke and one night, and then I think they did Shakespeare in the Park of at least 3, maybe 4 nights.
But see, when you're talking about something bigger than that, I mean, and we work very hard to keep that to locals. But if we do something like a music festival, then that's a whole bunch of people coming here, all the logistics associated with that. And it's not necessarily what, again, people here locally get a benefit out of.
Yeah, okay.
So so that's, again, the idea of trying to support local kind of events. And if other folks want to come to them, that's fine. But we work very hard to keep that below radar. And, you folks were there for, I thought you had some of the concerts, but
Yeah, we did, absolutely.
yeah. And it was like maybe, 60 to 100 people, and everybody was social distance and all that. And the other thing too is an outdoor event like that, kind of a concert that you might be talking about, is not allowed. I think the number now is 100 for an outdoor event like that. And so we're in that band.
We can't have a rock festival.
Yeah, I think a rock festival would be
They
kind of,
got rocks.
yes, yeah.
All right, well, we're past our 11 o'clock, unless we have something that's really dire conversation topic. I think we're just about done. Looks like Betsy is waving us off. So I think we're over for this month, and we will see you again next month for Coffee with the Counselors. Tell your friends.
Thank you. Thank you guys for doing this. Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Bob and Deb, for coming.
You're welcome. Thanks for listening.
He's a reading machine, so